What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the Philly Frenzy podcast. We are back. I'm your host, Matt, if you forgot, but I'm also here with my buddy, Rob. What is going on, Rob?
I'm happy to be in. We both had some stuff going on. Had to take a little hiatus from this, so I'm just it, and we're here to talk some playoff basketball today.
More
So
specifically on
excited for
fuck
that.
Ben Simmons. Yeah. Real quick before we get into basketball and Ben Simmons being terrible and why the Sixers are never going to be good with him. Rob just mentioned that we've had some stuff going on in our lives that have put us a little bit of distracted away from, actually making this podcast, but we are in the process of bringing it back. It looks like a July 1st is going to be an actual reboot. But today I wanted to really touch on this Ben Simmons thing. If you don't know, because you don't follow me on Facebook or Twitter, I'm expecting my first child in December. So, that's kind of a hiccup, and that's kind of where we've been at the last month and a half, and I've also had a new job. So we've been trying to figure everything out schedule-wise, but, we're back like we never left. It's Philly Frenzy. Without further ado, let's get into this Ben Simmons conversation. Rob, I do know
Hang on.
I know you wanted to hit something, so
think
go ahead.
There's a little bit of news out in the Western Conference that I just want to touch on. As of today, it is expected that Kawhi will miss at least tonight's game. There's been reports out of the Clippers organization that they are fearful he has some sort of an ACL injury. Doesn't sound like they think it's torn, but maybe something a little more minor to that joint. But from the awkward landing he had on his knee, so there is a chance that he plays tonight. There's a chance that he doesn't. If he doesn't, we'll have to wait and see how severe this ends up being and how much time is he going to miss. And more to my heartstrings, sadly today, Chris Paul, CP3, entered the COVID-19 NBA safety protocol, is out indefinitely until he can be cleared from that, which could affect his standings for the Western Conference Finals. It's upsetting because I think he's had such an amazing year, and that Suns team has had such an amazing year, and I think he's a driving force behind it. So I'm hoping he can get clear of the protocol for the Western Conference Finals, but we'll have to wait and see on that as well.
Yeah, with Chris Paul, I mean, hopefully everything goes all right. I do know he's vaccinated.
Which is even crazier that he got it.
He's probably looking at 14-day protocol after symptoms go away. So we probably, if Phoenix can somehow get into the championship, that's probably when we'll see Chris Paul again. It's sad because it seems every single year Chris Paul gets far and something comes up and ruins his chances of winning a championship. But
for sure.
With Chris Paul, I mean, this year is really showing you why he's a top 5 point guard of all time, even without the trophy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Let's get into the actual topic of the show. Fuck Ben Simmons, and the Philadelphia 76ers won't win anything with Ben Simmons.
I'd just like to lead off with my nickname for Mr. Simmons, and that's Shrivel Up Simmons. Because every time that kid's put in a big spot and we need him to step up, he steps out and disappears, in my opinion.
Ben is terrible. I would trust a 5-year-old to shoot a basketball from the 3-point line before Ben Simmons would even try to do it. It's not so much that he doesn't have. It's not so much that he doesn't have a jumper, or in this matter, doesn't utilize the jump shot. It's that he's not doing anything to make up for not shooting the ball. If Ben Simmons was going out there every single night and he looked like Luka Doncic without the 3-point shot, and take away Luka's threes, he's probably still averaging about 26, 12 and 12. in this postseason. If that's Ben Simmons, I don't think we'd be having the show. I don't think we'd be discussing the future of Philadelphia without Ben Simmons, which I do think Daryl Morey will be pointing towards if Philadelphia cannot win a championship. I don't even think it's going to be a matter of if they make the championship. Does it change the outlook of the Philadelphia 76ers? I do not believe so. If they don't win a championship, I think it's getting blown up. I don't think so either. So with that being said, I think it's time for Ben to go. It sucks because Ben is a very good defender. But when you have a defensive team the way that Philadelphia is constructed with Danny Green, Matisse Thybulle, with Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris is not a slack on defense. I'm missing somebody else. Dwight Howard coming off the bench, and then you have Ben Simmons.
Yep.
You're expecting Ben Simmons to be a guy who's going to be able to get you 25 points a night. Now, I know, Rob, you did want to start talking about the statistics of Ben Simmons and Toby, and you wanted me to guess on who was who. I'm going to...
Well, I'll leave out one stat that would give it away, which is points per game. We all know Toby's outscoring them, and it's by a lot.
I'm going to let you, jump into that real quick, and then we can kind of go over the idea of who you think's player 2 and player 3 when it comes to being behind Joel Embiid. We got to see Joel struggle late in Game 4 in Atlanta, and he was 0 for 12 in the second half, and I believe he had 4 points. Credit to Joel Embiid, he's still playing. He's on a torn meniscus. Before that game and before that second half, he was tearing up Atlanta, and he still didn't have that bad of a night. You take away his shooting percentage and you take away the 23 points. He had 21 rebounds on a torn meniscus. Clint Capella wants to go out and say, all you have to do is wear him down, and then he's just a normal center. Well, Clint Capella, you haven't worn him the fuck down all year, because every single game they've played against you, he's dropped 40 except the last game, and he had 21 rebounds. So I don't really know where you're wearing him down, but, have that mindset, especially going into Philadelphia tonight. But, Rob, go ahead and jump into this. Guess who Ben is and guess who Toby is.
Well, I'll take away their. I'm going to take away the points because that's a big giveaway.
Yeah, well, isn't Toby averaging like 23 points a game in the playoffs?
Right now, Tobias Harris is averaging 23.2 games. 23.2 points per game in the playoffs. To Ben Simmons is 13.8.
I just want to let everybody know that watches this, and Rob, I want to let you know as well. I did not look at the statistics. I've been watching this playoff run very closely, so I kind of threw a guess out there that Toby was averaging 23 and 23.2. It can't get any closer.
Yeah. So it's really not even the blind reveal, because the blind reveal is pretty obvious on who's who. But you got one guy in the postseason right now that's giving you 13.8 points, 8.2 boards, 8.8 assists, 1.4 steals, 0.9 blocks, and a 2.3 turnover or a 3.8 assist to turnover ratio. Now, other than his points per game and steals, for Ben, every one of those stats is up. Points per game is roughly the same as the regular season, because he had 14.3 in the regular season, 13.8. And similarly with steals, he's averaging 1.4 in the playoffs. He averaged 1.6 in the regular season.
Now, I have a question. So, I don't know if you know this, if you want to look it up or you want me to look it up. Do you have his free throw percentage from the playoffs?
Oh, God. I didn't need to look up something that was like 10%. The kid sucks from the free throw line.
I know it's been bad. I know he's like 5 for 33 or something like that, but
yeah, it's absolutely abysmal. It's like, I know it's under 50%, so it's
under 30%.
I guess it is worth mentioning, because we both know Toby ain't shooting that bad from the free throw line.
No, I think Toby's around 86. So
But really all year A big stat that they like to go off of nowadays, just for your overall performance, and that's what it is a rating of, is the PER, your player efficiency rating. That's a big deal anymore for most of these organizations. Both in the regular season and in the postseason, Tobias Harris has a better player efficiency rating than Ben Simmons by basically a point in the postseason, and it was almost 2 points in the regular season. Ben had an 18.38 PER in the regular, 18.62 this postseason. Isn't terrible. Look, I'm not saying Ben Simmons is a terrible player. I just don't think he fits in Philly. Tobias Harris had a 20.02 PER in the regular season and a 19.39 in the postseason. He's scoring more. He's been more clutch all year. He's been more dependable all year. He's been more consistent to me all year, which is why if you ask me who the second best player on the Sixers is, like who's their number two, who's Joel's supposed to be Joel's Robin, it's Toby, and Toby's not a number two. On a championship roster, Tobias Harris should be your number three.
No, and
That's what they brought him in to be.
You can't even make the argument for Ben Simmons to be the number two. I don't know what it was in Game 4, but in Game 3, Philadelphia won the game in Atlanta. You do know Ben Simmons was the only starter out of on a plus minus. Ben Simmons was the only starter with a minus.
Yeah.
He was, I believe, -7 on the court. Shake Milton, I believe, was plus 14. Don't quote me on the exact numbers, but Shake Milton was plus double digits and Ben was minus single digits. So when you're talking about a guy like Ben, like you're hitting on, who is supposed to be more... You look at these stats, he's supposed to be more of this defensive anchor who is going to get out in the open, and he's going to facilitate.
And if that's your number three on your championship team, then you're okay. I think both him and right now, both him and Toby are guys that you would want as a number three on your championship team. But if I was picking between the two, I'd rather have Tobias Harris.
Yeah,
but the problem is
agree with you.
that neither one is a two. There is no number two on this team.
No, and some nights you see that the number two is Seth Curry, and Seth Curry will explode for 26, 27 points in this playoff game, and then you got Toby with 24, and Ben Simmons got 6. So then
exactly.
Ben's your 4, and like your 4 isn't supposed. You look at these teams in the playoffs.
Well, no, I wouldn't call him his 4. I wouldn't call him a 4, and even when Seth Curry goes off for 26, he's not your 2 because he's not giving you the same level of defense as Ben. He's not distributing the ball like Ben is, and he's not going to get you boards like Ben can because of his height. But everything I just said, other than his ability to distribute, Tobias Harris does better. Tobias Harris scores better than Ben. He rebounds better than Ben. And I would say he's damn near an equal defender to Ben.
That's where I'm going to stop you. You know,
Ben's better, but it's not by... Ben is not so much better of a defender than Toby. Like, Toby's offense is more of a gap than Ben's defense is to Toby.
Yes. Okay, I agree with that. I agree with that.
That's why I think out of the two, I would take Toby.
Okay, I agree with
that.
Toby
isn't so far behind in his bad category between, like, his category where he loses you between the two really is defensive. And his defense isn't so much worse than Ben's, like, in comparison to Ben's offense and his offense. That's what puts him above Ben for me. And the thing is that Ben, I think, has the ability to flourish as a number 2. He'll never be a number 1. He just doesn't have the game for that. But he can be a great number 2 for someone else. But he doesn't fit with Joel Embiid. His only ability to get you baskets is in the bucket like, going to the bucket. And it's funny because he comes out like every game in the first quarter and he looks aggressive and he takes the ball to the rack and he puts up, 5, 6, 7 points in the first quarter. And you're like, oh man, Ben's going to do something. And then he just completely shies away from it pretty much for the rest of the game. And it's like, oh, why? I mean, he shows flashes that he has the ability to put points up, but he just basically refuses to or doesn't want to. I don't know. I don't understand it. I know for a fact Daryl Morey is sick of him. I to the point where I believe that even if everything falls the Sixers' way and they win the title, that Daryl Morey is still going to look to trade Ben Simmons in the offseason.
I'm going to hit on two things with Ben. Kind of what you just. I'm going to kind of wrap around what you've been talking about with Ben. He's the facilitator in Philadelphia. We don't have another guard that facilitates the way Ben does. But the issue with the way that Ben is facilitating, specifically this playoff, his assist to turnover ratio is 3.2. You said
3.4, which is actually good.
3.4. Yeah, that's actually that's good. If we were in the regular season, Chris Paul had a turnover or assist to turnover ratio of 11 in the last series. He had 33 assists to 3 turnovers.
Yeah. I mean, even Dame Lillard.
Chris Paul
Dame Lillard in Portland. Dame Lillard in Portland had a 4.7.
And Chris Paul scores. It's so that's my biggest issue with Ben Simmons. You have somebody like Chris Paul, who's 36 years old, who you just watched in Game 4 against Denver, put up 35 and 13. And then you get Ben, who's giving you what was his stat line at halftime at the end of in Game 4? 8, 10, and 7. 8 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. He finished with 10 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists. You gave me nothing in the second half. You're supposed to be the number 2 in Philadelphia, and you have Joel Embiid who's struggling. Now, discredit here to Doc Rivers. You saw Ben struggling, or you saw Joel struggling. Dwight Howard should have came in the fucking game. Plain and simple. Because we all know Joel's hurt. So why are you going to continue to leave him out there when you're up 16 points in the third quarter and Joel's 0 for 6 and he looks like he's struggling getting up and down the court, and you got Ben Simmons out there who has 2 points, 1 rebound, and 2 assists the whole second half? Spark something. Well, Shake Milton and Dwight Howard need to be put in the game at that point.
The problem is that Ben is supposed to be the guy that steps up when JoJo's not able to step up. And so Doc, it's that superstar thing, man, that these coaches, they feel obligated that they got to leave these star players out there even when they're playing piss poor. And I just don't agree with it. As a fan, I would much rather have seen what you just said. Shake and Dwight come in for significant minutes because they were hot, and Joe and Simmons were ice cold. JoJo because he was hurt. Then you leave guys out there that just can't get it going. I mean, why? I just don't understand why these owners and front offices make these coaches feel like if heaven forbid they bench Joe and Ben at the same time because both of them were doing bad. It just doesn't make sense to me. I still have faith in Doc. Obviously, he's
I love Doc.
Huge upgrade at coach, but that was a bit of a head scratcher to me as well. But I don't know that it matters because with Ben, it's not a championship team.
You know what Ben Simmons reminds me of?
The only way we win the championship game this year is if somehow Brooklyn can hold off Milwaukee but stay injured, because I think we can beat an injured Brooklyn team. And then, obviously, hope that Chris Paul can play in the finals if Phoenix gets there, or that Kawhi is going to be out if the Clippers get there. Because other than that, other than facing an injured team in the Eastern Conference Finals and the NBA Finals, we're not going to win. Which is why I think even if we do win, Daryl Morey's going to go, yeah, but it was only because everybody else fell apart at the end.
You know,
So
I
he's
was
still going to
excited.
trade Ben.
I was excited. You know, Kyrie Irving is one of my favorite players that's currently in the league. But I was excited to see the opening for Philadelphia with the Kyrie Irving injury. I was upset that Kyrie got hurt, but I liked being able to see Philadelphia having an easier shot at getting to the chip. But touching on Brooklyn really quick before I go back to the point I was going to make with Ben Simmons, I don't think it's easier even if Kyrie doesn't play. Kevin Durant had 49, 17, and 10 last night.
That's because Kevin Durant is trying to prove that with LeBron's regression, he is the best player on the earth. And I'll give him this at this point. On any given night, he can be.
Yeah.
But my problem with Kevin Durant is he doesn't have it. He just, to me, I mean, it could be different. I don't know the guy personally. He just never comes off like he's an alpha.
No, not one bit.
He's not an alpha. He doesn't seem like he's the guy who's going to take control. And that's why he's been taking a backseat all year on this Brooklyn team. It's like, well, why is Kevin Durant your third option when he's your best player? That's right, because Kyrie's a dog and an alpha, and Harden's a dog and an alpha. So that's why Durant's taking the back seat. And honestly, those two should be kissing that man's feet because that's the only reason that team is working, is that he's willing to play a different style.
With
where
Ben,
he's not necessarily the main focal.
With Ben, the comparison I want to make real quick with Ben Simmons, and I don't really want to get off of talking about the Sixers, but we are going to get into the idea of who could be a replacement for Ben Simmons after this season. But with Ben, someone who reminds me a lot of Ben's tendencies is Carson Wentz. Everyone knows I'm a Carson Wentz supporter. I love Carson. I hope he does well in Indianapolis. I really don't want to get onto this topic of football, but you can kind of see when Carson was drafted, he didn't want to be in Philadelphia. You knew he wanted to be in a smaller city, and, you know, he's used to being the man. In Philly, you walked in, you weren't really, you know, the guy, and then Nick Foles wins the Super Bowl, and you're really not the guy, and then you go and you draft Jalen Hurts, and you start questioning to yourself, are you the guy? And you stop caring about what you're getting paid to do. You're starting to see it with Ben Simmons. When Ben was drafted, you know, I don't know personally, I don't think Ben wanted to be in Philadelphia. Ben, to me, seems like he's the type of guy that wants to be out on the West Coast, or he wants to be down in Miami. He wants to be playing for the Lakers, the Clippers, or the Miami Heat. He seems like he's more into, you know, partying and, you know, enjoying himself. But what made it work for the first couple years, yeah, there's no championship. Yeah, there's first and second round exits. Ben didn't progress. What made Ben, you know, maybe focus a little bit more than what we're seeing this year in this postseason, is Brett Brown. Brett Brown and Ben Simmons' father, you know, have been friends for a very long time. And Brett Brown babied Ben Simmons, where Ben's not getting that treatment anymore. Ben's starting to not care. So that's kind of the comparison. I see that comparison.
Well, here's the thing, too. I mean, Ben was told at the trade deadline, like, have your bags packed, because if I can move you, I'm moving. This has come out of the Sixers office. Daryl Morey told Ben Simmons at the deadline, pack your bags.
All right, let's get into the Ben Simmons
that could be, you know, part of why he doesn't look. But if that was me and I had a team telling me pack my bags, like, I'm gonna try and prove myself so that, you know, I get maybe traded to a better team because if I start playing real well, all of a sudden I might pique some interest from other teams.
That would be
But
my mindset as well.
yes, I would love to get into replacements. Um, I have a personal top three that I would like them to target. I don't know that any of these guys will be available, but there's either trade rumors or want outs or pending free agency for all three of my guys.
All right. Well, let me give you the. Let's start with the most unrealistic idea here. I know your three, so I'm not going to really touch on your three, but the most unrealistic
I already know where you're going to.
is Steph Curry.
Yes.
All right. Do I believe Steph Curry will be traded this offseason? No. Do I believe Daryl
Nope.
Morey will try everything in his power to try to get Golden State to trade Steph Curry this offseason? Possibly. All right, so Daryl Morey was fined $75,000 for tweeting back at Steph Curry. Steph had said something on Twitter about his brother Seth. Morey jumped in and was like, "Why don't you come join him?" Morey got hit with a $75,000 fine. It's not all peachy clean in Golden State where people want to believe that it is. The rumors aren't real loud at the moment, but you can see the frustration, and it sounds like there's a lot of frustration in that locker room. If Golden State doesn't do the right thing this offseason and go and get another piece, because there's an opportunity or there's a chance that Klay Thompson doesn't play yet again or misses a good portion of the beginning of the year, and surround Curry with an actual weapon, because Draymond Green isn't a weapon. He's a Walmart version. He's a Walmart
aged.
version. He's a Walmart version of Ben Simmons, and Ben Simmons is only target by himself. So, I mean, Curry needs his Robin.
Draymond used to be a weapon. He's aged a bit, and age has hit him a little harder than it does some guys. I mean, it's pretty clear he's lost a step. But I mean, he's still a talented player, and he's obviously still capable of being in the league. He just, like you said, he ain't a Robin anymore. Hell, he ain't even a third man anymore. He's like got to be your fourth, fifth option on a title team.
And that
And
brings me
this
to the
year, he
point.
had to try and be there too.
That brings me to the point of why Steph Curry, would make sense in Philadelphia if you could work something out here. Steph is going into the last year of his deal.
Yep.
That kind of opens up a little bit of a door. If the disgruntledness is there, Ben Simmons, a couple draft picks. I'm
all about it.
I wouldn't mind moving. I wouldn't mind moving Maxey at that point. Ben Simmons, Maxey, and a couple ones. I mean, it's the most unrealistic. But if it became realistic, you're talking Steph Curry and Joel Embiid.
There could be more of a tiff between Curry and that organization right now than we know. I mean, it's a class organization, so their inner issues are not going to come out. So,
but Curry and Embiid is just. I'm not a huge Curry fan. Everyone knows that, but having him on your team is a little bit different.
I mean, after what that dude did this year, carrying that freaking team, I'm more of a Curry fan now than I ever was before.
The other name I know you're not going to really touch on would be the idea of a reunion with Jimmy Butler, moving Ben down to Miami, getting Butler back up in Philly. That would allow you to possibly look at either starting Maxey or you'd probably start Maxey either way and go and get a vet like D Rose. I kind of like the team looking a little bit better with Jimmy Butler and Derrick Rose than Ben Simmons right now.
I agree. I wouldn't mind that move at all. I love Jimmy. So I was sad to see him go the first time, and the whole reason he wanted out of here was because of Ben Simmons. So
yeah, they
we
collided.
Can get Simmons out of here. Yeah, if we can get Simmons out of here and get Jimmy back, I'm about that move too. I don't know how much interest there would be on Miami's side. Maybe because Jimmy's older, and like I said, I do think Ben can be better somewhere, but I think he's no longer interested in being here, and I'm no longer interested in having him here. I haven't wanted him in years. I was on the record as saying, 2 years ago, I didn't think we'd ever win a title if Ben Simmons was supposedly our number two. I just never thought the kid was gonna have the game, and I never thought he'd fit with Joel as your number one. So for me, that's why I'm out. But uh, my top three, and the only reason I did these guys is my top three over, and the other two guys we just talked about aren't in it, is because I do think it's a little. The other two were a little too unrealistic for
Yeah.
me to even consider. But I do agree with you; both would be amazing options. Um, and all even though I'm gonna say I have like an order for these guys, it's really like a one A B C. Like I'd be happy with any, but I would say the guy I would want third most um would be Kawhi. There's talks that he's getting a little frustrated with some of the guys in the locker room in LA, and if LA doesn't do anything this year, are they going to try and blow it up because obviously the guys they got aren't working
Yeah, and
together.
Him and Doc had a good relationship. So
Yep. So I could see that's why I could see there being interest on his side. Um, I don't think that the Clippers would hate getting a younger, good player in Ben.
yeah, because it would be a sign and
I
trade.
it would be a sign and trade with Kawhi because he's a pending free agent, but that's the only way you're going to get him. So it would be a sign and trade with them where because basically Kawhi would want to leave, um, that they would do a sign and trade and give us like Kawhi and a first to take Ben. There may be other pieces in there to get money to work and everything like that,
I have a
but
question.
um, well, I think personally Kawhi obviously I think is a better defender than Ben. Kawhi might be the best defender in the league when he's healthy. Um, and his offensive productivity is double Ben's. So, yes, he can't really be like a carry the ball up assist guy, so you would lose that. But again, I have faith that Maxi and you going out to get like a veteran point guard could fill that role just fine.
Quick question for the Kawhi Leonard. Does it change if he has a torn ACL?
Yes, if he has a torn ACL, I don't want him. I don't want him at all.
You wouldn't be
Uh,
interested. You wouldn't be interested in doing what Brooklyn did and taking KD, who's coming off a torn Achilles, who sat out for a year.
I don't know. I think so. If they're gonna do that, then I don't think like if he has a torn ACL, um, man, it just I don't know how long JoJo's gonna last.
That so you're getting into the JoJo window. You don't know how long we have with JoJo.
Yeah,
Okay.
and again, I understand that if you brought Kawhi over, Kawhi's really the number one, and now JoJo's your number two, which is ridiculous to say. JoJo as a two is that's a title. That's why I think that's a title shot.
Yeah.
If you have a really a 1A and 1B type Batman and Robin situation with Kawhi and JoJo, and then Kobe's your three, yeah, that's a title team. Um, so again, Kawhi is third to me because I do think he's equally defensively and he's better than Ben offensively, but I don't think he's better than the other two guys on my list offensively. So, with that being said, my number 2 guy is Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal's name has been around the Sixers since the trade deadline. He absolutely does not want to be in Washington. I don't think Washington wants him because, again, in comparison to Ben, he's old. You know what I mean? But he's not anywhere past his prime. The dude's an absolute killer scorer. He doesn't have Ben's passing game, but he's not Ben's level defense, but he is a good defender, and he does get turnovers. He averaged over a steal a game. And in the postseason, when that man was literally carrying that entire team on his back, he was, he even averaged, he was just under a steal a game and like over a half a block a game. And he's a small 2 guard. So for him to block anybody is ridiculous. But he's an absolute assassin as a scorer. And he can do it from the perimeter, which is something this Sixers team lacks. Again, you're gonna lose some height, but he could handle and distribute a ball. I think he's a little like James Harden in that way. Like, yes, he probably is a true position 2 guard, but he can play 1. So I would like to see them experiment with him playing a 1 a little bit too, and then see what he does for you. Because I think he could be a guy that gave you like 28 and 8 if he was handling the ball. But there is nobody I would rather have on this team. And according to Las Vegas, we have the second best odds to get him. Is Damian Lillard, Portland Trailblazers. He is so frustrated, and he should be. That team has never gotten him a number 2. They just keep trying to tell you that CJ McCollum is a 2, but he's not, and he never will be. He's a 3. On top of the fact that they have too similar of a game for, I think, them to be a truly effective duo. So Dame not only gives you the killer instinct scoring that Ben doesn't, but he also gives you even better assists than Ben does. So, I mean, he averaged more than Ben in both the regular season and the postseason. In the postseason, Dame Lillard averaged 10.2 assists a game. The guy averaged a double-double.
Yeah, and he shoots about 40% from 3, so, I mean...
Yeah. His exact stat line in the postseason was he was playing 41.3 minutes a game, which is higher than Ben, higher than Toby, higher than Joel, higher than Beal and Kawhi by the closest guy was Bradley Beal, who was playing 39 minutes a game. So, I mean, he's out there 2.5 minutes longer than the next closest guy out of anybody we could even be talking about, probably. So he the guy's always on the court. He's dependable. He's got the gas. He averaged 34.3 points a game, 4.3 rebounds, 10.2 assists, 1 steal a game, and 0.7 blocks with a 4.7 turnover ratio, which is excellent. Around a 3 is what a point guard is supposed to try and strive for. And his player efficiency rating was 26.03 in the postseason this year. By the way, every single stat that I just named was up in the postseason compared to the regular season.
The thing with Dame, I'm gonna be honest with you. If Philadelphia had an option to get Dame or Chef,
I would take Dame over Steph.
I would take Dame over Chef because Mr. Chef Curry He's older, and
Yep.
with
And I'm
Dame,
sorry, Dame even the Dame's not a great defender, but he's better than Steph.
Dame's a better defender than Steph. Also, I believe Dame is a better all-around point guard than Steph. Um, one
I
thing,
agree.
one thing with Curry,
He's a better passer than Steph for
yes,
sure.
that's what I'm saying. Curry's gonna bring you the handles, the 40-foot three balls. Um,
But Dame can do the same thing. And I'm sorry, I don't think there's much of it. Look, I know Steph is career the best 3-point shooter of all time, but Dame Lillard's a damn good 3-point shooter, one of the best in the league. So I don't think that the difference in 3-point shooting is that much different. That Dame's vision, Dame's defensive prowess, and you know, I just don't think that that's enough of a difference to take Steph. I know that the one positive with Steph though is he has been there, done that in the playoffs and the finals, and that's something that you listen to all veteran players talk, and they're like, it matters. That experience matters in the postseason. So that he does obviously have an edge in that department. Obviously, Dame's been in the postseason, but he's never been in a finals. So we all know the intensity turns up even more in the finals. Not that I don't think Dame would, live up to the moment, but we've just never seen him do it, and we know that Steph will perform. Steph doesn't shrink in the finals.
I don't have anything else to add. The Sixers are on at 7:30 tonight, Game 5 against Atlanta in Philly. Rob, do you have anything else you want to add on this episode?
I got one question, and it refers to tonight's game. So that series is tied 2-2. This is Game 5 in Philadelphia. Is this a must-win?
It's not a must-win because they're going to win.
Okay.
See,
I know.
what I'm going to say
dodge my question.
What I'm going to say right now.
If they lose tonight, do you not agree that they're going to lose the series? Because I think if they lose tonight, they will lose Game 6 in Atlanta.
If they lose tonight, it goes 7.
Yeah.
They go back.
But if they lose tonight, it goes 7. Do they pull it out, or do they lose at home again?
Ask me after Game 6.
Okay.
Okay. No.
Dodging my question.
No, I do believe if Philly was to lose tonight against Atlanta, I believe that they would go into Atlanta Game 6. They would win, and you'd see a Game 7. I'd say that I'd have Philly winning in 7. If they were to lose tonight, I have Philly winning in 6. I've been saying 5 or 6 all along. There was
I think people underestimated the talent on the Hawks team, and I'll even admit that I did not know that Trae Young was quite as good as he's.
Young.
That kid has stepped up in this postseason.
Hold on. Trae Young.
You can love or hate his personality. That kid has stepped up for that team in this postseason.
Let me say this. Trae Young, if you ever listen to this episode or you see this episode, you're a bitch. You don't go on Twitter and complain about the league being soft because Jokic gets ejected with a flagrant 2 and then come out Game 4 and cry to the refs all game long that you're getting touched. Guards are the issue why the league is soft. But now that I got that off my chest, Trey, have a good Game 5. Clint Capella talking the way that he talked after Game 4, Joel Embiid's going off for 40 plus. We all know.
Is he healthy enough to go off for 40 plus?
We all know how Joel is. It doesn't matter if he's healthy or not. He's going off for 40 plus. You're not going to come out and say, let me get the exact quote from Clint Capella.
I know it had something to do with basically that he could wear out Joel or whatever, but even though Joel's been bodying him all year.
Whenever you wear him out, everything becomes tougher for him. When the fatigue comes in, it's a different ball game. Clint, let me ask you something. You wore him out game 4? Because he had 21 rebounds. He still had 23 points. You wore him out?
Yeah, he had a 20-20 double-double.
Yeah. Did it look like he was struggling in the second half from the field? Yeah, he was. You want to know what else? He was also frustrated. You could see it in his face. Every time he went to the basket, he was getting touched. You know, Trae Young gets the foul called after, he misses a layup with less than 2 minutes left because Joel tapped him on the head. But Joel's getting smacked every single time down in the paint. I played basketball. I played the center position. There's only so much you could take before you get aggravated because nothing's getting called for you. And then you want to sit here and be a point guard and complain on Twitter that the league's soft.
Yeah. No, dude, I don't disagree. Like, personality-wise, I don't care for Trae Young, but he is clearly a leader and an alpha on that team. Like, he's willing to do whatever, beat a bad guy, like, doesn't care, whatever's going to get his team fired up. And tell you what, you can't say anything about that kid's performance on the court this postseason because he's been absolutely phenomenal.
No, I won't take anything.
One of a few first-time playoff guys because quick shout out to Ja Morant. That kid had a playoff appearance too. His team just absolutely sucks.
I'm not going to take anything away from, what Trae Young does on the basketball court. I don't think he's as physically gifted as most people think that he is. I don't understand when people start talking about how the Atlanta and Dallas trade on draft night is equal. Luka Doncic is light years in front of Trae Young. So you cannot compare that. You cannot compare that trade to being equal or canceling out because if Luka Doncic was right now on Atlanta, this series wouldn't be tied 2-2.
No, they would have swept us.
But, Trae Young, he's a hooper. But I don't think he's as good as most people think that he is. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to give you the prediction for Game 5 tonight. The Sixers are going to win by 21 plus.
Sheesh.
21 plus. Trae Young gets held by under 22 points. Joel goes over 40.
Who's guarding Trae Young?
Ben Simmons and Thibault.
Please let it be Thibault then, because I don't trust Ben's ass.
They're going to take turns.
To do anything right.
Not only that, I'll give you the triple-double alert. I believe Ben does get a triple-double tonight. It's not going to be...
10,
10
and 12?
No, I think it's going to be, if you want the exact stat line, I believe Ben goes for 11 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists. I got Joel going for 40 plus. I think Toby's going to get you 25. And you're gonna have Seth Curry give you 21, and I believe that the rest of the bench is gonna make up the difference that they need. I believe that they're gonna win this game. I believe they're gonna win this game easily. I'm saying 21 plus, but in my mind right now, the score that pops right into my mind is 125-94, and that's 31.
Jesus.
I believe Joel is going to play with a vengeance, and he is going to play out of his mind tonight. This is going to be a Joel that Philadelphia fans have been waiting to see. Even on that torn meniscus, he is going to hound Clint Capella all night long because of that comment. We all know how Joel is. Joel is a troll on Twitter. Joel is on Twitter all the time. Joel saw that tweet. He took that shit personal, and he is going to open up a can of whoop ass. Stone Cold Steve Stunner style on the court tonight.
So the only reason I would say that you're wrong about the gap in the score is because I think if we get up huge, they are going to rest JoJo with this injury.
That's fine. I still believe they win by 31 because I think that Shake Milton is going to be your 15 plus off the bench. Not only that, I believe this game's over midway through third quarter.
So you got everybody lighting up this Atlanta team.
I have
everybody having career playoff games tonight.
No, Shake Milton gave you, I think it was 17 game 3 when they won in Atlanta. But what I'm seeing and the idea that I'm getting out of this is that Philadelphia didn't like the way that they were disrespected after Game 4. I feel like Atlanta really took it and acted like they won the series. And one thing that we see with Philadelphia, we saw it in Game 2, and we've seen it all year when it comes to Philadelphia playing against Atlanta. In Game 2, Game 1, Philadelphia got the shit rocked in the first half. And it came back, and they only lost by 4 points. They played sloppy. They came out Game 2, they smacked Atlanta. They came out Game 3, they smacked Atlanta. They came out Game 4, they were smacking Atlanta until the second half, and then lost by 3 points, 103-101, or 103-100. And Joel was 0 for 12 from the field in the second half. 0 for 12. They lost by 3 points.
He hits 2 shots in the second half, we win.
Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers, last time they played in Philly in the regular season, they beat Atlanta by like 40-some points, I'm pretty sure. I remember turning on the game, it was like 94-50. So I'm not worried about Atlanta. I do believe this ends in 6. Like I said, I'm saying 21 plus. I have an idea in my mind that it's going to be 31. I do think that it's going to be 125-94. And then Game 6, they're going to go into Atlanta and they're going to win a tough one. Game 6 is going to be a close one. I'm not expecting a blowout Game 6. Trae Young, John Collins, and Clint Capella are going to do their thing in Atlanta. And Bojan Bojanovic, or how the hell you say his name? He's gonna
Bojan Bogdanovic.
He's gonna hoop too. Name, so but tonight it's gonna be all about that defense and what Joel Embiid's going to do to that to Atlanta's defense. For Capella saying something, yeah. I also do feel that there is a chance tonight that we do see Dwight Howard get ejected from a game, because it's only a matter of time before somebody smacks that fucking that mohawk off of Gallinari's head, and I think it's going to be Dwight Howard. So I hope Gallinari doesn't start tonight.
Well, he probably will, because he's one of their better players. So, my official prediction tonight is, unfortunately, I think the Hawks are going to win. I think something's going to go awry in the second half. I don't know what it is. It's just how I feel. I'm hoping I'm wrong, because I've been wrong quite a bit with basketball this year. The games I have, thought were going to go one way, I have gone the complete opposite way. So hopefully Matt's right. But I think I got us losing a close one again. I think it's going to be another little heartbreaker, because I think something's going to happen where we're going to need Ben to step up, and shrivel up Simmons is going to go and disappear.
Oh, and Ben's stat line, when I said he's going to get a triple-double, it's going to happen all in the first half. I mean, not all of it, but Ben's going to have 2 points and 1 rebound and 1 assist in the third quarter, because he's not going to play the fourth quarter.
Because he shrivels up in the second half of games, and in every other big moment he's ever had on this team.
But now that we got that out the way, we're good, right? We're ready for the game tonight?
Yeah, I'm ready for the game. I think it's going to be a good game. I don't see a blowout, but either way, for me, that's a good game. I'd love to see him blow Atlanta out, but I just don't think it's happening.
All right, with that being said, Rob, I appreciate you coming on, getting this thing going again. It was, it's a good episode. Fuck you, Ben Simmons. We don't need you here. We don't want you here.
Shrivel up Simmons.
Shrivel up Simmons. Like I said, we may do something along the lines before July 1st, but July 1st seems like it's going to be the actual reboot of the show. If anything changes, I will be posting that on Twitter. You guys can follow me at mhathaway23, or you can follow Mr. Rob himself at Rob Danka. I think I'm pretty sure that's it. I really forget how we were closing the show. And I sat here and watched Looney Tunes all day yesterday. So I'm just going to hit you guys with the. That's all, folks.